Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. So this video is continuation of Python series and this is tutorial number 3. What we are going to learn in this series is how to use loops. So let's get started. So what are loops? Loops are used to perform any simple repetitive process in shortest way possible. Well, what does it mean that in loop, if you have some kind of process which is very repetitive and very identifiable that it has a certain kind of pattern, so you can use loops to make it very small and it will continue until you want. Well, in Python we have mainly two types of loop. One is while loop and second is for loop. Well, we are going to discuss about while loop in this video. So, what are while loops? While loops will run until the condition is true. What does it mean that? In a while loop, we have a certain condition which is true, and when the condition is true, it will run. If the condition turns out to be false, then the loop will stop. Now here in the code you can see that I have assigned a variable I is equals to 1, and in the next line I have turned into while loop. Here I have used while loop where I have chosen I is less than equals to 10 as a condition, and until this condition is true, this loop will be executing. Here you can see what it is going to do. It is going to print numbers from 1 to 10. So let's type this code and see how it is going to do this. Here you can see that it has printed from 1 to 10 numbers, and how it is doing it? Well, in while loop it is printing first value of I, which was 1, and after that it incremented the value to I is equals to plus is equals to 1, which means it incremented by value of 1. So initially the value of I was 1 and now it is 2, and again it checked the condition and still the condition was true. So it started printing it again, and this time it printed 2 as the value, and again it get incremented by 1, that is I became 3, and this process continued till I became greater than 10, and when I became greater than 10, so the loop got exited. And now suppose if you had to write this code in something like without while loop, so how would you have written it? Here you can see I have written the code without using while loop. You can see the difference, like here I have used something like 4 lines of code, and in place of that you have to use something like 10 lines of code. So how problematic this can be without while loop. This is how loops are used, and this is the basic way of using loops. So now let's move on to something else. Here we have a question. We have to take input from the user while using input function and then print the tables of that number from 1 to 10. So how we are going to achieve it? Here you can see what will be the output of that program. So let's make a code to make it happen. So now first what I will do is I will assign a variable and I will ask the user to input something. Now what I will do is I will use another variable I is equals to 1. Then I will go to while loop, and then I will say while I is less than equals to 10, print a star I, which means a into I, and then in the last line I will increment it by 1. Now let's run this. Here you can see that this is how our program runs. Here I have to input a number and it given me the table of that number. Well, how does this work? Here I have asked input from user, then I initialized a variable to 1, and then what I did in print statement, I just simply multiplied the given input with the variable I, and I kept it printing while the value of I was less than or equal to 10. Now we have break statements. Suppose you have some kind of condition in which you have to break your loop when that condition turns true, but that condition of that while loop is still true. So how can you do that? Here in this example question, you are given like you have to print tables of the given input, but what you have to do if the numbers turns to be something like 10, so you have to break it. You have to break the loop at that moment. So here you can see in examples, if I have entered 2 as a table, so it will print from 1 to 10, and after that it is not going to print anything. Now in example 2, I have taken 3 as a input. Here it will print all the table of 3. Why? Because there is nothing like 10 in table of 3, so we are going to print all the values. So how we can make this program? So for that you have to do nothing, just you have to add an extra statement, which is if I star a equals to 10, then break. So what it is going to do is it is going to check the value of I star a, and whenever the value will be 10, it will break. Well, how it is going to work? Let's see by running the code. Now here you can see that when I enter the table of 2, so in table of 2 you have 10 as a 5 into 2. So when value was turned into 10, so it got break. But in table of 3 there is nothing like 10 as multiple of 3, so we have got all the values. So that's how break statement works in while loop. Now we have continue statement. What does this continue statement do? Well, it is a little bit different from break statement, but it is almost like break statement. How? So it will skip that part in while loop in which a certain condition gets satisfied. Like here in question, it is said that you have to print tables of any number, and you have to print only the odd values, don't print the even values. So if I enter a number like 3, so what will it give me? It will give me just odd values, not any even values. So how you can achieve this? For that you have to do something like you have to make a condition like if now here what I have changed in code is while using while loop, it will check condition like if the value of I star a is divisible by 2, like when it will be divisible by 2, when the remainder of 2 is equal to 0. Here percentage operator returns me the remainder when I divide I star a by 2, and it will compare it with whether the value of it is equals to 0 or not. If it equals to 0, then it won't run these statements and it will continue. Before running the code, we have to do a small change in it too. Like we have to add another I is plus equals to 1. Well, why we have to do that? Because when you are running something like a continuous statement, so it will skip both of these, which means like if the while loop runs and you give something like this, so it will skip this statement in this line of code too, which means it won't ever increment I by 1, and the loop will continue to till infinity. So let's run it. Here we have got answer as expected. Here you can see like we have got all the even numbers, odd numbers, but nothing like even numbers. Now we are in the last thing, which is else statement of the loop. Now suppose you want to something like do like if the loop ends, then you want to print some kind of statement. So how you can do that? So you can use something like else statement loops. Here what it will do is whenever the condition of while loop is turned into false, then the else statement will run. Like suppose here is the example. Here I have asked number from user, and then I initialize value to 0, and then I printed all the values, print I star a I plus equals to 1, and then in last statement what I did is I said the loop is done. Now let's run this code in our machine too to understand. Now if I will run the code, so and now if I enter a value like 2, now if I run the code, and here you can see like what is the last sentence. Here you can see the last sentence is the loop is done, which is the else statement, which will run every time whenever the loop's condition is turned into false. So that's all for this video. I will meet you next time. Till then, thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe, share, and bye bye.